Welcome to another episode of NC Bassin. Today I hit up a local pond, a really big pond, the Country Club Lake. It's really just a big pond. I'd say it's probably 2.5 acres. Good sized little pond, full of dinks. I've been fishing there for 17 years. It's hard to believe, and I've never caught a fish over 4 pounds out of it. Always catch numbers though. Back in the day, it wasn't as many numbers, and the fish were a little bit bigger, but now they're just, for the last 10 years, it's just been numbers. Little fish all day, starving little fish. I don't know if they stock it or it's just overpopulated with bass. Most of the fish are very malnourished. It's always been like that. I'm not sure if it's overstocked. Like I said, I don't know. There's very few bluegill, but the bluegill are huge. I've caught my PB bluegill out of here. Probably my top 10 PB bluegills out of this little pond. And today I thought the topwaters would be killing, but I was definitely wrong. It was mostly the jig again. There, you see I missed one. The water's very stained. This pond's usually pretty clear. It's for most of the ponds around here. It's actually one of the clearest ones. Today it was muddy. It's been raining a lot. We get afternoon thunderstorms. If you're in North Carolina, you know. Afternoon thunderstorms every day. Everything was muddy. That's the reason I went here. I was like, I need to catch some fish. I know I'm not going to catch a big one, but it's worth a try. And I thought topwaters would be on, but they barely would hit. Like I missed like 3 on the whopper plopper. They were just barely hitting up on the popper so much. Right here's a spinnerbait. I thought they'd hit the spinnerbait because they were just not really committing to a topwater. But I don't know if it was the muddy water. They didn't want to move far for the bait. But they probably couldn't see very well. They're used to clear water, and this is really pretty murky. The water was really high. Not really high, but about 1.5 feet high. I thought the spinnerbait would be on, but it really wasn't. That little black and blue jig, 3/16 ounce little tiny jig, or I had the 1/4 ounce today, but small finesse jig. Same thing that was working at the lake the last few weeks. Seems to be a ticket. All this rains everywhere is muddy pretty much, so something with some bulk to it was really what was working. Here's one on the spinnerbait right here. Spinnerbait just was not working. Whopper plopper wouldn't work. Spinnerbait wouldn't work. I'm sure I could have thrown a Cinco and caught a ton of fish, little ones all day like I usually do, or a shaky head and caught a bunch. I was trying to catch fish with stuff I don't normally. I didn't want to pull out the little spinning little weenie rod, so I like catching them on the bait casters. A lot funner. You know, you can actually yank into them. And plus, you want a chance to actually catch a good one. I had the popper out for a while with this rod, with the spinning rod. I was hoping to catch one of those huge, over a pound bluegill that's living in this pond. There's some humongous bluegill. Biggest bluegill I ever caught, 11 3/4 inches, 1.51 pounds out of here about 2 summers ago on a chatterbait. Swallowed a chatterbait. It was massive. And I actually did catch one on popper. I missed a lot of them, but they were mostly this size, like not huge at all, just decent sized bluegill. There's not many bluegill in there, that's why I think they're so big. The ones that are in there are huge. It's just overpopulated with bass, and I think that's a big problem. There's too many bass and not enough bluegill, so they have no food unless they eat their own. They have to eat their own kind, pretty much. This was probably the biggest fish of the day right here. He might have been 2 pounds. I think it's 2-year classes, the 2-year-olds and the 3-year-olds. The 3-year-old fish are a little bit better size, of course. The ones that are like 12 inches are just super skinny, about to die. It seems like they get 2 pounds and starve to death at the most. So I never catch anything big. There's deep places in this lake, and I'm pretty sure there's spots that's like 25 feet deep, which is deep for a pond. I think there's probably some giants in there, but I've never seen one or caught one. Even when they're spawning, I've only seen 3.5, 4 pounders at the most. I haven't even been here since it was cold, just because I know I'm probably not going to catch a big fish. This is where I go in the winter time, where I just want to catch fish or have fun. And then pulled out the crank, put the spinnerbait up. The whopper plopper didn't work. Put it up. Spinnerbait barely worked. Put it up. Put out the crankbait. Actually caught a few fish on the crankbait. Nothing big though. I mean, they were a little bit better size. See, this little square bill looks like a bluegill. I was hoping just for the chance to catch it. This was a good fish right here, probably like a 2.5 pounder, and lost him right there as soon as I hooked him. Another one on the jig. Jig's always fun. I love flipping and pitching. I mean, who doesn't like to just yank into a fish, close quarters, pitch out 10 feet and yank in one, but these fish are so small you yank them straight out of the water. I mean, I had caught over 20 fish today. Someone warned him on video. I probably had over 20 on the video, but nothing big. It's still fun though. This pond is loaded. And it's fished a lot, which is crazy. There's a lot of people that fish there. They're just, I'm assuming they let them go. Most of the ponds around my house, people will take all the fish home, and the only fish that are in there are huge fish and smart fish. And plus, these fish are just starving to death, so they're a lot easier to catch when they're starving. I mean, look how malnourished some of these fish are. If this was my pond, I would be throwing all these little ones on the bank and just letting. There's just too many bass in there. And I would put shad in it, but that's besides the. That ain't my lake. But this tree had, and there's a topwater fish. As soon as the sun came out, the bite really died. I thought they would hit the shady areas and it'd be easy to catch them. They're kind of spread out in the morning, but they must have been feeding because I hit the shady areas when the sun came out and they weren't really biting. And they wouldn't hit the Texas rig really at all. I mean, the jig was the best bait. Even end up putting on a shaky head later just to try to catch a few more before I left. And the jig was the way to go. The jig has been for the last month really, the jig has been the bait to catch fish on. The water's just so murky and they need a bigger profile. I'm using a finesse jig with a pit boss trailer, a pit boss cut in half with 2 of the pinchers cut off, so it's only 2 pinchers. There's 4 on a pit boss. And sometimes I'll keep 4 on at the lake. Just you can see it right there. It's just a little small jig. It's really been a ticket. The dark colors and the muddy water, of course, black and blue. Like at the lake last week, I had a peanut butter and jelly colored little jig and could not get a bite on it. The black was the only thing that would work. That's a warmouth. This pond used to be loaded with warmouth. It probably still is, but I used to catch as many warmouth as largemouth. They used to really get on my nerves. But today I only caught one, luckily. So hopefully the warmouth are probably spawning somewhere, and I was wondering if I didn't catch them, but used to kill warmouth. Used to be full of alligator grass too, so all that grass is gone. So pond's always changing, but it still stays consistent with the dinks. This is my dink pond. Another little one there. And it was just a fun day of just catching fish.